But first, Paul Keating today gave a disgusting and immoral interview today to the National Press Club. And the most amazing thing about it is that China doesn't pay him. He said it used to, doesn't now. And that means that this former Labor Prime Minister these days actually defends this genocidal dictatorship for free. How about that? It's amazing. I mean, Keating wasn't actually paid today to, for instance, defend China's jailing of 1 million Muslim Uyghurs in concentration camps. China doesn't even have to pay Keating for being what I saw today, a toady, China's Lord Haw Haw, the man who I think is our most shameless and shameful apologist for China's dictatorship. Now, normally I might ignore what Keating said today, but I can't, because he's still influential in the Labor Party, believe it or not. He still advises some Labor ministers. Chris Bone, for one, I'm sure you can believe that. What's more, what Keating did today seemed to me designed to get Labor Party members to revolt against this deal that the Albanese government has just made with the US and Britain to get nuclear submarines. He today let fly at the government, saying this deal was the worst ever made by a Labor government. How dare we arm ourselves with these subs against China? I mean, China's not a threat, he said.
Underlying all this stuff about the need of nuclear power is the idea that China has either threatened us or has threatened us. It has threatened us or will threaten us. Now, this is a distortion and it's untrue. China does not threaten Australia.
That's just insane. China has threatened us for having, for instance, politicians visit Taiwan. It's threatened one of our Air Force planes for flying over the international waters of the South China Sea, got very close to it. And it actually smashed us with trade bans for standing up for freedom in Hong Kong, for defending Muslim Uyghurs, for not letting China potentially control our 5G communications. And journalists at the press club couldn't believe what they were hearing from Keating. I mean, what about the trade bans? What about the massive Chinese cyber attacks, even on Parliament?
To Keating, cyber attack.
Well, what, do you think the Americans and the Russians are not into cyber attacks?
That's exactly how it was with Keating today. If anyone asked them about China's aggression, he always had an excuse or a claim that the West was just as bad or worse. Never a word of criticism about China itself. And what really shocked me, he played that same trick to even defend China, putting 1 million Muslim Uyghurs into concentration camps to destroy their cultural identity.
Have a tremendous skill for invective and criticism. Could I ask you now to turn some of that to the Chinese Communist Party and its treatment of Uyghurs?
There's disputes about what the nature of the Chinese affront to the Uyghurs are. There's a dispute about that. But one thing we can't be sure of, what if the Chinese said, but look, what about deaths in custody of Aboriginal people in your prison system? You know, wouldn't that be a valid point for them?
That is one of the most vile and immoral things I've heard an Australian politician say in years. There's a dispute about what China's, if it's really bad what China's doing, to liken it to Aborigines dying in custody here at rates, by the way, lower than deaths of non-Aborigines in our prisons. I mean, seriously? But I didn't hear a single Labor politician call them out for this evil defence of genocide. Not one. Some say, oh, well, might be a little out of touch, but that's it. Their silence tells you Keating is influential. They do not dare attack him. Because his defence of China is not, it was just deranged. It's deranged. It's not a threat, he kept insisting. We don't need these subs.
The only way the Chinese could threaten Australia or attack it is on land. That is, they bring an armada of troop ships with a massive army to occupy us. This is not possible for the Chinese to do.
I mean, what la-la world is this guy living in? China doesn't need to invade us to control us or be a threat. I mean, a sea blockade would be enough. It would do the trick. 60% of our sea traffic comes just through the South China Sea. Our petrol supplies come by sea. It could strangle us in a couple of months. Keating, meanwhile, flayed anyone who did think China a threat. He said Foreign Minister Penny Wong, Defence Minister Richard Marles, They were seriously unwise. Our spy chiefs, they were dumb. Our army chiefs, they were dumb as well. President Joe Biden was nuts.
You know, the American president can hardly put three coherent sentences together.
And journalists were stupid as well. He called one a psychopath. He told another to hang his head in shame. Sky News reporter Olivia Casely was abused simply for asking a very good question why Keating knew better than the government when he hadn't predicted China's aggression and had been out of office for a couple of decades.
But the question is so dumb it's hardly worth an answer.
Oh, the Chinese dictatorship would have loved this. It's been saying the same thing as Keating. It's no threat, it's no threat. And how dare we defend ourselves in Australia while it's arming itself to its teeth? But Keating suddenly struggled for an answer when he's asked about exactly that. You know, why exactly would China be arming itself so very fast? I mean, there's no country on earth that would invade China, so why this massive military build-up? And suddenly Keating goes,
But why are they doing it?
Why are they? Well, they're doing it because, A, they have a huge economy which is internationally dependent, and because more latterly they have this sort of pressure from the US.
Bull dust, bull dust. In Keating's mad world, we're only building these nuclear subs apparently because America is jealous.
China has committed in the eyes of the United States the great sin of internationalism. And what is that sin? To develop an economy as big as the United States.
And that is bull, and you know it's bull because it's not just America that's suddenly worried that China, which America actually, by the way, deliberately helped to get rich, thinking this would be great for the world, has suddenly become, the same China has suddenly become more aggressive, more dictatorial, even threatening war, an invasion of Taiwan. I mean, Britain and Germany are also arming themselves very fast now. India has just announced a huge build-up. Japan has announced this biggest build-up since World War II. Democracies around the world are frightened that this Chinese dictatorship is bent on war and domination. But Keating says, no, don't defend yourself. It's the West that's evil, threatening and stupid. But for China, he had not a single word of criticism, not one. Seems that for Keating, China just exists as not just even a theory, a weapon. It exists as a weapon to attack his own. That's all it is. And it doesn't even pay him. What a bargain for China's dictator.